Well, here at 24/7 Sports, we are, of course, always looking ahead. And right now, our focus is on the 2025 recruiting class. And the top 10, it looks like this. Notre Dame just with quality and quantity at number 1. You've got Ohio State and LSU with a whole lot of quality. 3 5-stars, you see it there for the Buckeyes. 2 for LSU, including the number 1 player. Now, speaking of hot recruiting, we are bringing in 2 of our analysts to talk about just all the buzz that's happening on the recruiting trail right now. And I teased this, guys, at the top of the show. You've got Tom Loy and Brandon Huffman here. That now that we've taken Nick Saban off the trail, I was just genuinely curious to see where all the buzz is going to. Who are the hot named coaches that everybody wants to hear from? Who are some of the teams that you want to get that phone call from? So let's start there. Tom, which team or coach maybe is getting a lot of buzz right now?
There's a lot of buzz around Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko. As soon as he was hired, I told Aggie fans that this guy is the real deal. I've tracked him since Wake Forest, then at Notre Dame, then when he became the head coach at Duke. He's extremely intelligent off the field, even more so on it, especially when he's talking ball. So he's real, he's genuine, he's an incredible evaluator of talent. He's 100% going to get the Texas A&M program back to where it belongs. But I want to give a shout out to Texas A&M General Manager Derek Miller. This is a guy that's been doing it at a high level every stop. Ton of success. He's incredible at what he does, and there's very few that are as intelligent as he is. But you talk to top Texas A&M targets like Khalik Lockett, one of the best receivers in the country, Jonah Williams, a great linebacker, and then elite offensive lineman Michael Fasusi. These guys bring up Derek Miller. So shout out to Elko, Derek Miller, and the guys in College Station.
The one school that you're getting a lot of buzz about is Oregon. Dan Lanning's name was linked to the A&M job. It was linked to the Alabama job, like you mentioned, with Nick Saban leaving. But Oregon has a buzz with guys in the transfer portal, with guys in recruiting. You are hearing Dan Lanning's name. You're hearing his staff's name for a ton of players, not just on the West Coast, but nationally. And when he got hired at Oregon out of Georgia after the 2021 season where the Dogs won the national championship, he said he wanted to bring an SEC-style mentality to Oregon. Now, he's got to get over the hump and beat Washington. He's 0-3 against his rivals to the Northwest. But on the recruiting trail, he's beaten the Huskies and USC. They're 2 probably biggest competitors out west for recruits. And then he's beaten a lot of national programs. So there is a ton of buzz for the Ducks right now, and Dan Lanning is a big reason why.
Huff, I want to ask you specifically about UCLA. Obviously, that is your territory. But when you've got a new head coach in there, what are you hearing early on as far as the returns from the new coach, Foster?
Well, for the first time in 7 years, you're actually hearing UCLA mentioned by recruits. Big recruits, local recruits, national recruits, medium recruits, you name it. There was no buzz around Chip Kelly. They had the worst class in the Big Ten in their first year heading into the Big Ten in 2024, just zero buzz recruiting-wise. And then when Chip Kelly left a few days after National Signing Day in February, Deshaun Foster was named the head coach. The former Bruins star running back has buzz building in Westwood. They had over 300 players at their Friday Night Lights practice and their spring showcase. They're getting official visits from top-tier players from all across the country. Local recruits are getting back into being interested in UCLA in the 25 class, in the 2026 class. He's got all kinds of momentum. Now they've got to close on a lot of those recruits they're getting to campus. No school in the Big Ten out west is hosting more official visits in the month of May than UCLA. So this is the opportunity for Deshaun Foster to build on the buzz of his hire to now get those players to return back to Westwood. He would know. He was a part of the #1 recruiting class back in 1998, was at UCLA when Jim Mora was getting top-tier recruiting classes, and then watched it kind of flail under Chip Kelly. So he knows what UCLA is capable of, and they're starting to build some momentum in Westwood.
Especially impressive considering how much later in the hiring cycle that he was brought in. He's done all of this work just in a few short months after being officially promoted in early, or I guess mid-February, it seems like. Okay, so those are some big names that we're talking about here. But Tom, who's maybe a team that could surprise us that you've been hearing a lot about on the recruiting trail?
I would go with Memphis and head coach Ryan Silverfield. I know everybody wants to talk about NIL and FedEx and that being a big factor, which is fine. But a lot of love needs to go to Ryan Silverfield. I'm a big fan, to be completely honest. His ability to connect with guys, being authentic, real, it's impressive, and it's paying off. Obviously they've made a lot of noise on the field, but what he's doing off of it is impressive. Bo Davidson and Josh Dunson, a couple guys in-house are also helping a ton when it comes to recruiting. But they have Memphis in the thick of it with guys that I didn't really expect. Top 100 quarterback Antoine Hill, top 247 offensive lineman Peyton Joseph, and a 3-star edge rusher Tristan Abram, who was extremely impressive at the Under Armour camp in Nashville that I went to. Those 3 guys could absolutely pick Memphis. I don't necessarily have a crystal ball pick for the Tigers at this point, but shout out to Ryan Silverfield, shout out to the Memphis Tigers staff. They are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA was probably the one school that's more surprising just because of how dead it was in Westwood under Chip Kelly. But I'm going to give a different name, Arizona State. What Kenny Dillingham is doing at his alma mater has been very impressive. They have closed on some local recruits in the state of Arizona. They've gone into California. They've gone into the state of Texas and gotten some recruits for a program that, for much of the buzz in this offseason, it was about the recruiting penalties that they incurred under Herm Edwards a couple of years ago that now has some of those guys on that staff no longer coaching in college football. Kenny Dillingham knew he had a huge task when he took the job at his alma mater, one of the youngest coaches in college football. Arizona State was not able to get any kind of momentum really under Edwards locally. A lot of those in-state kids would leave the state, but now they're building a buzz in-state. He's got 3 former head coaches in the state of Arizona from the high school ranks on his staff. He's a local product himself. So Arizona State is starting to build some momentum with local kids, but also going into Texas, also going into California. And they've made one of the biggest splashy name hires of the offseason from a position coaching standpoint, and that's Hines Ward, who won a couple of Super Bowl championships with the Steelers. Hines Ward's immediate impact when he got to Arizona State was to get a 4-star commit out of the state of Texas. So if Kenny Dillingham can continue to build the momentum at his alma mater, in his backyard, as they make that move to the Big 12, then I think there's a very bright future on hand potentially for Arizona State.
I love it. I would be remiss if I did not ask Tom, who is on the Notre Dame beat, and the fact that Notre Dame is #1 in 2025 right now. I'm sure there's a more eloquent way of phrasing this, but what are they doing right now that's making them have so much success?
Marcus Freeman's a different cat. He's been that way since day one. There are very few that want to recruit at his level, that care to recruit at his level. And he's all about his business. He's focused on winning championships. But his ability to connect with recruits and prospects, it's unlike many others in this profession. But also shout out to Chad Bowden, who was newly appointed general manager in South Bend. I mean, he's a different cat, to say the least, just like Marcus Freeman. So they're built the same way. He's unique. He's wired different. When you talk to guys like top 100 cornerback Mark Zachary, top 100 linebacker Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, and elite receivers like a Derek Meadows or a top safety like Jadon Blair, I mean, these guys single out Chad Bowden. They single out Marcus Freeman. They are doing all the right things, pushing all the right buttons, and that next level approach is paying off in South Bend.
So early on, too, in the recruiting cycle. I just think that makes it so much more impressive, too, getting these guys to commit early. So we brought you both in because you're both insiders, and I love kind of the big picture look at what's happening in the world of recruiting, but I have to also get some good intel from you guys while we're here. So Huff, I'll start with you. You had a great piece on Friday about, some West Coast visitors and all the buzz that was surrounding them. So coming out of those visits this weekend, who are you hearing a lot about?
Well, Jackson Lloyd is the top offensive lineman in Northern California in the sleepy town of Carmel, known mostly for being where Clint Eastwood was the mayor at one point. If you don't know who Clint Eastwood is, Google it, folks. But Jackson Lloyd is drawing all kinds of recruiting attention to Carmel and college coaches. One of the persons who visited last week was Justin Fry, the offensive line coach at Ohio State. They offered Lloyd earlier in the week, and then he quickly took a visit out to Columbus this weekend. Now, a year ago, he was given his first offer by Chip Kelly and by Tim Drevno, the offensive line coach at UCLA at the time. Now with Kelly, the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, and Drevno, a quality control analyst for the Buckeyes underneath Justin Fry, they were able to get him to campus this weekend. He's got official visits set up for Alabama and USC in the month of June, but the unofficial visit out to Columbus this weekend went well enough that he will schedule an official visit to Ohio State. And I think the Buckeyes are going to be a real contender here, given the relationship he has with Drevno and with Kelly, and also the fact that the Buckeyes have made it a focus to get Jackson Lloyd to come out on a visit quickly and then to get him to come back for an official visit. I still like where Alabama sits. Kalen DeBoer made a big impression on him when he was at Washington. USC offers a little bit of a local opportunity for him. But keep an eye on the Buckeyes and the Tide here. And Ohio State is slowly but surely making their way back into the mix for Jackson Lloyd.
All right. And Tom, I said it at the beginning of the show. I kind of joked, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to take a victory lap for calling out to not rule out Indiana when it comes to five-star quarterback Julian Lewis. But what are you hearing as far as what attracts him to the Hoosiers?
Yeah, I took a big beating from USC fans on that one. They called me a Notre Dame homer. But look, Julian Lewis is still committed to USC. He says he's strongly committed there, but he's considering his options. So he's looking at Indiana, Auburn, Colorado. He's at Indiana May 31st, and after that, he's going to go to USC, Auburn, and then Colorado and wrap things up. But Emily, we talked about this in January. You said it. We were in Nashville. His relationship with Tino Sinceri goes back longer than anyone. That is the key here. We said that relationships matter to Lewis. We said that relationships matter to the Indiana staff, and that's all paying off. He also has a lot of respect for head coach Curt Cignetti. So again, all factors that are really not surprising that Julian Lewis is going to get on campus here in the Hoosier State. Do I think he's going to land there? No. If I had a crystal ball pick, I'm just not ready to put one in for a flip quite yet. But if I had one in, it would still be on Auburn. I think that the Tigers are doing a great job, and that school sets him up for a lot of success. But keep an eye on Indiana. Keep an eye on Colorado. I don't think this one's done. In the end, I still do see him flipping from USC. But personally, I think that USC is the best fit for him. I think under Lincoln Riley, he's going to have tremendous success if he lands there. All these USC fans think that I'm just being a hater, but I really think that that's the best fit for him. But if I had a crystal ball, if I had to put one in today, it would be on Auburn.
Man, what a roller coaster USC fans going through listening to your answer to that question. All of a sudden, Auburn's coming out of here. Well, don't rule out Colorado. But I do think he should stay at USC. That was a trip, but that seems to be the recruitment of Julian Lewis. We appreciate you keeping tabs on it. Both of you, thank you so much for being here. You can check out more of their great work at 247sports.com. As always, I will tell you, for the best and most exclusive recruiting intel, become a VIP member.